fattest person in most rooms I am in. And honestly, on the one hand, I'm used to it. Used to researching seating in advance, used to dodging inevitable diet talk, you get it. But on the other hand, I'm exhausted. I am exhausted by living in a world that is not built for bodies like mine. And when I was still in the throes of all my dieting, I thought it was my fault. And the end destination of my journey was very clear, a thin body. But now, in my journey of body liberation and acceptance, my final destination is nebulous. It's an ever-evolving process. But what I do now understand, and so desperately want everyone in the world to understand, is that anti-fatness is a systemic problem and not a question of personal responsibility. I have some bad news for you all. Weight and body size, largely out of our control. And people, myself included, really don't like to hear that. And so I remain the fattest person in most rooms I am in. And there is no such thing as a safe space for me. And the one place I feel the least safe is a doctor's office. I hate going to the doctor. My entire body enters fight or flight mode at the mere mention of a medical appointment. I am ruled by fear. And 2025 was a tough year for me. In May, I managed to contract double pneumonia, boom, boom. And in a windowless room of the ER, I'm delirious from lack of sleep and a fever. The nurse comes to take my blood pressure. Problem is, they don't have a blood pressure cuff large enough for my arm. And the nurse kind of scrunches her face in dismay, and they put the cuff on my lower arm and take the reading, claiming while it might not be as accurate, it's the best they can do. And my blood pressure is a bit high, so they start me on a low dose of meds. And I'm just a little wary because if they don't even know how accurate the reading is, why are we even doing this? But I go home with my new prescription after a few days in hospital with double pneumonia, very delicate lungs. Then in December, I have my annual neurology appointment. And I'm actually gonna tell you something. I love my neurologist. Like, bizarrely, yes, he brings up my weight, but it's never accusatory and he never fear-mongers me. He's just like the nicest person ever. And he asks me about the May hospitalization and I fill him in and I explain about the blood pressure cuff issue. And he leans back in his chair and kind of looks off to the side and goes, you know, I might have a solution for you. My colleague works in the cardiovascular clinic and they might have a cuff that'll fit you. Let me just message him on Teams. Like, nicest person ever. Teams sucks though. Anyway. And we proceed with the appointment, and towards the end of it, he just explains he wants me to have a baseline reading for my blood pressure, and I hear a ping from the computer. And suddenly, referral in hand, I toddle off to the cardiovascular clinic in the hospital to get a proper blood pressure reading. I check in, I sit in a very comfortable chair, they put a cuff that actually fits on my arm, and I sit back and relax and let the machine do its work. And all the while, I am feeling so happy, relieved, and frankly grateful. I feel cared for at a medical appointment for the first time in a long time. The nurse tells me that the doctor wants to see me briefly to go over the results. And again, I'm just thinking to myself, like, what service? I go and I wait in the waiting room in a decidedly uncomfortable chair, one whose hard plastic armrests dig painfully into my sides. And I overhear a doctor talking to a patient, telling them that they simply must lose weight. Just eat smaller plates and move more. Oh, I roll my eyes. The eat less, move more approach to weight loss has long been debunked, and frankly, if it worked, it would have worked. I text my friend going, man, I hope he's not my doctor. And he's not. I see a different doctor, one around my age, call another patient into a different room. And as he does so, he looks me up and down. And that is when I should have raised my suspicions. I go in when it's my turn, and he says my blood pressure is normal. Stay on the meds. Great, I think. I didn't even need to sit down. I start to get up to leave. Then he stops me and he puts his hands on the desk in front of him and leans forward and goes, "What interventions have you tried to lose weight?" There it is. And he warns of a potential cardiac emergency within the next 10 years if I don't do anything. This doctor, who has clearly only briefly perused my chart, because if he had looked at it closer, he would have seen a chronic mental health history, eating disorder, all sorts of things. And he doesn't even take the time to ask me about my lifestyle habits, about my eating habits, about my movement habits, nothing. He just sees a fat body, a problem to be solved. He brings up weight loss surgery. Yep, been there, talked about that, thought about it, decided it wasn't for me. And I'll give you all one guess what he suggests next. Anyone? Ozempic. You might have seen an ad or about 5 million of them. And if you don't think that every medical professional that I have seen in the last 2 years, save my awesome neurologist, has not suggested Ozempic to me, you would be sorely mistaken. And trust me when I tell you, I have considered taking these drugs. I have considered it a lot. So much so that I read the academic papers, immerse myself in it all, listen to podcasts, read articles, all of it. And so I kind of pluck up my courage and try to explain to the doctor why I don't think these weight loss drugs are a good choice for me right now. Because if I believe in anything, it is in bodily autonomy. Everyone has the right to do with their bodies what they want, including me. And so I share about my concerns about the mental health side effects, physical side effects, how the studies show if you stop these drugs, you gain the weight back and more, and again, been there, done that. And also something about folks developing a condition called anhedonia. Now, anhedonia is the inability to experience joy or pleasure. And some folks who take these drugs develop anhedonia around food and other aspects of their life as well. And me, I fucking love food. Woo! Yes! So the thought of taking a drug that will remove all that joy just for the sake of losing weight at any cost, it depresses me more than I can say. And so I try to explain this to the doctor, and he's listening to me, but I don't think he's hearing me. I think he thinks the benefits outweigh any risks. Because he leans forward again and he kind of gives me a sympathetic smile and says, "I just feel I owe it to you to give you the options." He owes it to me. Despite not knowing much about me at all, despite my normal blood pressure, despite my tumultuous history of yo-yo dieting, mental health issues, and a fucking eating disorder, he owes it to me. I leave his office feeling whiplashed. I am in shock. I had gone to get a routine blood pressure reading and came out with a lecture to ignore all my principles, not to mention the scientific evidence, and lose weight at any cost. And I wait until I get home to cry. And I cry like I've never cried before. For days, I am just beyond beaten down. I get it. I get why people give in. It is just too hard to swim against the current of anti-fatness in the age of Ozempic. And yes, my life would be easier if I were in a smaller body. And I recognize that. And sometimes I long for that. And after about a week or so of tears, I come out the other side defiant. I decide I am no longer going to let myself be ruled by fear and by people pleasing. So I make a resolution not to lose weight, don't worry. A resolution to stand up for not just myself, but other fat folks as well. And I decide that 2026, as much as I'm not into resolutions, is gonna be my year of being brave and doing the hard thing. Woo! Starting by filing a complaint with the hospital ombudsperson about how that doctor treated me in December. Because it is not okay, and doctors need to be held accountable, and like their motto says, do no harm. I deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and compassion, and I deserve to be listened to, not despite or because of my body, but because I am me. A whole-ass human being. A brave one. Thank you.